Good afternoon. We are here once again talking about strategies for finding your purpose and living it out to the max and using some amazing principles. First of all, Renee Maxfield, my partner here on this production, is going to get us started today. And I'm going to tip right in to be sure that you can not only do the things, but you can find your purpose, the underlying purpose behind each of the things that you want to do and why you're there, and be able to lead you all the way to where you run it on autopilot. So let's get together. Renee, please let us know what you have in store for us today.
So Michael and I have been working together for the last 16 years and have spent a lot of that time figuring out how to be more effective, efficient at going after the things that matter to you, of living the life of your dreams. And so Michael talks from today during our presentation, we're going to be talking about two different scales. His is going to be at the level of what matters to you, your purpose, a values-based purpose. And I'm the person who talks about how to get that done. So I'm going to show you how to get a big, hairy, audacious goal done. I'm going to be talking today about at the scale of goals, of when you know what matters to you the most, what your values-based purpose is in life. Michael's going to help you with that. I'm going to help you go after one of the goals that is related to your purpose. We can always, when we know what we're about, what our life is about, what matters to us most, and it's very personalized to ourselves, there's infinite number of ways to express that, right? If I have an adventure, for me, adventure is an important thing, in an important value for me, and my vision for myself is to be out there living life out on the edge, living big adventures and stuff like that. There's a million ways to do that, right? I can climb Mount Everest. I can learn how to snowboard. There's a million ways I can express that. And so I'm the one who's going to tell you, we all get bogged down in the how to. We throw ourselves, we get ourselves, really bogged down in the details of how to accomplish the things that matter to us most. Because when you're going after big, hairy, audacious goals, they're scary, right? They're out of our comfort zone. And so I'm going to show you how you can do that. And then Michael's going to step back out of that and talk to you about how to determine what matters most to you. So this is my kind of philosophy on life. I think we're all blessed to be here. We got a 1 in a million lottery chance ticket of living this life kind of thing. So I look at life as being, it shouldn't be a journey to the grave. Oops. Well, shouldn't be a journey to the grave, in a well-preserved body. I skipped past the slide, but it's to slide in sideways, kind of going, woohoo, what a ride, to really value the life that you have, the opportunity you have to live it big. And so I come at it from that standpoint. And so that's why big, hairy, audacious goals to me appeal. Little minor tweaks around the edges don't get us very excited, do they? It's going after something that really makes our heart sing. And so who am I to tell you anything? I've done this. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to go and pick up a motorcycle. I had only been riding a motorcycle for something like 800 miles. And I had the opportunity to go and pick up a motorcycle in Phoenix, the Phoenix area. We were living in Ohio at the time. And this should be out of your comfort zone, right? When you've only had that much personal experience at something, to ride, it ended up being 2,301 miles. To ride a motorcycle that far should worry you, right? It's a dangerous activity. You have no bumpers around you. You're out there in the elements with the whole rest of the world. So you should take this seriously. And that's what I had to do. I had to come up with some kind of way to approach something like that. It thrilled my soul just to no end to contemplate taking a journey of this sort. All my life, I've always been thrilled by people going after big things, really the kind of Mount Everest things, the crossing deserts, those kind of things. And it's like, but I'm ordinary. I'm just an ordinary person. But with the process that I came up with as a result of having this opportunity, I was able to step through this. I was able to step my way through this. And I call it itty bitty baby stepping my way there, because I want to get myself under the radar of my own resistance. And so in contemplating this, I had to find a way to come at it small enough, in a small enough scale, that I could actually accomplish this without actually getting hurt or killed. And so the first thing that's most important is identify your big, hairy, audacious goal. Take something that thrills your soul. Take one of those things that you've been setting on the back burner maybe for years. And I very much encourage people to not talk to anybody about this. We have enough internal resistance. We don't need everybody in our lives telling us we're crazy to think about something that we want to do. It makes other people nervous when we go after big things. We're already nervous. So don't do that. First things is to sneak up on yourself and just contemplate the possibility of going after something that you have. A lot of us have been thinking about certain things forever and ever, and we just don't do them. So the first thing is identify your big, hairy, audacious goal for yourself. And this is very old school, practical kind of things. You have to make it a SMART goal: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. You have to be very specific. We tend to want to skip over this and, oh, I want to lose some weight. Well, losing 1 pound is, well, boom, you were successful. That's probably not what you're meaning by that. You want to be specific, measurable, have the goal be attainable and relevant to you, and you need it to be time bound. You can't hit a goal you can't identify. If you're vague, you're not going to know if you made it or if you didn't. You don't know what you're going after. You can know where you're standing in life. How do you know if you got there or you're getting closer to something that you haven't clearly identified? So this is old school stuff. There's nothing new in this and what I'm telling you to do, but take it very seriously. A lot of times these are the simple things that trip us up. We blow past them. Yeah, I'll get to it later, right? And we never bother to get to it. We just vague, and we get vague results. If it's a dream you have, is it worth taking seriously? Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So the second step to hitting your big, hairy, audacious goals is, this is something that's completely different than how most people go at things. Brainstorming your list of horrors. And what I mean by this is dragging the boogeyman that we have under our bed out from and under the bed. Right? We have all these things. You got this really cool idea. I'm going to ride across the country on a motorcycle. It's going to be so cool, and in the romantic fantasy of it. But in the back of our minds, we know all the things that can go wrong. And there's a lot of things we don't know what can go wrong. And they're under there. They seem bigger than life because we don't really grapple with them. So what brought me to coming at this from a different standpoint was, I was, at the time that I was looking at this trip, I was studying Stoics. They're ancient Greek philosophers. And what they did a process, what they called the premeditation of evils. And what that was anytime that they wanted to accomplish something, they would look at the ways that they would fail to accomplish that thing, so that they could deal with that. Instead of just assuming everything's going to go smoothly in a direction, they actually contemplated what could go wrong. So the big question you need to answer for yourself is, how would I fail to achieve my big, hairy, audacious goal? When you do this, I want you to get very specific as to all the things that can go wrong to prevent you from achieving your big, hairy, audacious goal. Everything. I don't want you to just skip over this. Every minute of work that you do on this brings you closer to guaranteed success. I promise you. At first, it's going to be scary. At first, it's going to be overwhelming. This first step leaves you, actually, I'm going to give you the punchline, is going to leave you more overwhelmed than when you started. But we're not going to stop there. That's It's just the first step. So get as specific to all those things that are running around in your head, the big, the small, the embarrassing. I know for me, I was going to hike the Tahoe Rim Trail, and the worst thing to me that it's like, it was so horrible to think of was I had to go potty outside. I have never done this before. For as much time as I've spent running around in the woods, that is something I've never done. And it was like something I couldn't even contemplate. It's just mortifying, right? I'm saying it to you because I can say it out loud now, but at the time, it was just overwhelming to me. So put all of those things down, because when you deal with those, which we're going to do in a later step, when you deal with those effectively, you're going to move them out of the way. And what we tend to all do is just ignore all of those things that we don't know how to deal with. We ignore them, and then they stop us. We just stop. We don't know what we're doing, so we stop. And that's how dreams die. So what I call this is making friends with monsters. You've pulled all those itty bitty, all those boogeymen out from under the bed, and you made friends with them. And what you come to find out is a whole lot of them aren't even all that scary. There are certain ones that are, but most of them are not. They're all just, one-eyed kooky monsters that and we'll bring these all even down to size, even the scary ones here before we're done. So the next thing you want to do, and this helps you to start really bringing overwhelm down to size, is resort your list of horrors. We think I know when I did for the motorcycle trip, it was probably 50, 60, 70 things on my list when I dumped out all of my boogeymen out onto a Word document. It's like, oh my gosh, there's no way. This is just too much. And you want to crawl into the bed, right? I'm going to get under the bed. All the boogeymen are out. I'm going under the bed. Forget this. I'm going to go watch TV. This is too much. But what happens when you resort your list of horrors is you find that you have categories of horrors, and it's not that many. Out of intense complexities, intense simplicities emerge. Winston Churchill. You think it's really complicated, but when you do this process, you find out that there are not as many categories as you think. So on my trip, there was things like, gear and equipment, weather, route planning. So 60, 50, 60, 70 things all started going down into about a half dozen categories. And all of a sudden your mind goes, hey, this is something maybe I can do something with. This is maybe not as big of an undertaking as at first I thought. Maybe I can do this. So what we're doing is, again, managing our psychology, managing our overwhelm so that we can get down to doing the things that will take us from point A to point Z out there, our big, hairy, audacious goals, right?
Yep.
All right. So step 4, what you'll do is brainstorm solutions to your list of horrors. Now, this is what the Stoics were talking about. It wasn't just that we go, how can we fail at this? It's like, okay, now these are all the ways things can go wrong. How can we circumvent these things to actually get to where we want to go? And this is something that drives me nuts. We have a whole lot of inspirational things out there in the world, and one of them is focus on the goal, not the obstacles. Woo woo, right? Oh, that feels warm and fuzzy. Look at the dude jumping over from rock to rock, and look at how successful he is, right? I'm calling this woo woo nonsense. This is crap. We don't want to just pretend we're focusing on the goal and because this is how we look at things. In our mind, we think, we're going to ride a little smooth little ride from point A to point Z, and everything is going to be swell, right? This is how life looks. We want to manage our expectations and our reality. This is how things actually go. There's all these unexpected obstacles. Even when you go through this process, you'll find an unexpected obstacle or two. But what you're doing is you're gaming this in your favor, right? We've all tried to go after things and we think, oh, it's going to be awesome. And we find that there's so many things that get in our way that we didn't anticipate. Well, we're doing this smart. We're anticipating probably 90, 95% of what can go wrong right out of the gate and dealing with it, instead of being surprised when we get to our first pile of rubble or our first ladder or our first, water crossing. And so for each horror that's on that list, I want you to do one of two things. The first thing, if you can in any way possible, when you brainstorm solutions, it's not necessary, you don't know which one you're going to pick just yet, but when you brainstorm solutions to each of those problems, one after another, methodically, you try to make that horror a moot point. If there's any way you can make it go away so that it's non-existent, that's the best of all worlds, right? If you can't do that, and a lot of times you can't, you just want to minimize the attendant risk of whatever that horror is, whatever that problem is, in any way that you can. And I want you to also think creatively. I call it under, over, parachute in behind the problem. And there's a million ways to slice and dice almost any obstacle we have getting from where we want to where we want to go. If there's a wall in front of us, we can dig under it, we can make a tunnel under it, we can make a little hole at the bottom of it, we can climb over, we can put grappling hooks over it, we can put ladders over it, we can catapult ourselves over it, and then failing all else, rent a plane, parachute in behind the problem. There's always a way to get past the problems that are in your path. And so you want to brainstorm for each of those horrors on your list, all the possibilities that you have. We want to get it done the simplest way possible, but you want to have options so that no matter what you've got in your mind, I can do this. There's a way around this. And like I said before, every single minute you spend in this process, makes it much more likely that you're going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. You're going to be efficient, you're going to be effective. And I've said this repeatedly on a brand new undertaking, like when I did the motorcycling trip across, or I did it for the Tahoe Rim Trail. I'm in the process doing it right now for a trip to Baja, Mexico. At 2 days, a weekend, off and on over a weekend, and I can go through this process and know where I stand in relationship to my big, hairy, audacious goals. I'm asking you, is 2 days worth of your time worth, is the thing that you care about worth 2 days of your time, spending 2 days of your time? The time you spend fertilizing the yard and shuttling the kids around. How much is your dream worth? How much are your goals worth? Is it worth taking this time for you? And I also want to say, you're the biggest gift to all the people around you. You expressing your unique you, Michael's going to talk about this, but you expressing what is unique about you is the encouragement and the inspiration to everyone in your family, the people around you, your friends, your coworkers, you being the best version of you. So like I said, is 2 days of time worth it to go after your goals, your dreams, the things that make your heart sing? Absolutely. I think so.
Absolutely.
Right. And so the last thing is you're going to resort that list of brainstorm solutions to your list of horrors. And how you're going to do that is you're going to do it predominantly by the order that you can execute them. First things first. Then the place that you'll execute them, the way that you'll execute them, am I going to do research? Do I have to do some shopping? How you're going to do them, and then who will do those things. What you end up with is your itty bitty baby stepping plan of attack. This becomes, I don't have to focus on all this mess of things, all of these horrors that I have. These horrors are now in categories. Okay, this isn't so bad. Now I've got potential solutions for every single thing on that list. I don't have to do all of them, but I'm going to start with the easiest, and then I'm going to move down the list for each one of those. Now I sort these all out into especially the order in which that they'll be done. And here's your plan of attack. You're not doing all of those all at once. You're doing the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. And how you're going to do those, I threw in here, a confused mind always says no. When you don't know what you're doing, when there's too many things, you think there's too many things to do, your mind says, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to go watch a movie. I'm done. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. But this itty bitty baby stepping plan, you know what's next. there's no doubt in your mind, and you only have to take one thing at a time, and you only have to do it in itty bitty baby stepping fashion. And what that means is you can take the very next item on your list to do that's in order of which you'll do it, which you'll accomplish them. And you can even break down the what you think is the smallest task into an even smaller bite-sized task. And so the example I always use, I hate getting on the phone. I hate it. I have social anxiety and it stresses me out. And you think, well, it's just picking up the phone and making a phone call. It's actually multiple steps. It's finding out who you're going to call, what's the phone number, what's the hours that that person's open if I'm looking to find information from them, what's my list of questions. I can just make up the list of questions and I'll make the phone call tomorrow. If I can't even do that, here's the under over parachute behind. I get my husband to make the phone call after I hand him the phone number and the list of questions that I want answered. There's always a way to chunk something down to make it possible for you to slide under the radar of your own resistance and take that one next step. And each of those steps, as you do them, aggregates into a big, hairy, audacious goal being accomplished. And it's such a thrill. And so you take those itty bitty baby steps one after another until you're walking across the floor and walking out the door. That's how we do this. And so I'm going to give you a quick example since I started off with that. I had this just idea that just spoke to me, the thrill of riding across the country on a motorcycle after only having ridden 800 miles, just captured my imagination. And so I'm going to give you what it looks like. So all of this is, brain stuff on paper. Don't tell anybody you're doing it. Later you can get other people to chime in and go, what else could go wrong after you've thought through a huge portion of this, right? So when everybody's going, well, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? You have the answers, not only for them, but for you. So you're comfortable. Then they can add to that. But this is what it looks like in real life and in Technicolor. I got on that bike that I'd only ridden a bike of this size for 130 miles. I got on it in Carefree, Arizona, outside of Phoenix. I rode through the crazy streets. I had a plan for riding through the crazy busy streets of Phoenix, Arizona, something I'd never done before either. And these are the experiences I had. I ate incredible food. I got to see the wildflowers blooming in the Arizona desert. It was just so lucky and a blessing to be able to do that. Got to take my picture in all sorts of incredible places. I rode through some curvy, windy road down into the Salt River Canyon, which is like a little Grand Canyon. On the other side of it, I dropped my motorcycle, one of my biggest fears, and I wasn't afraid at all. I got help, and the guy that helped me asked me to video him, and he got down on his one knee and proposed to his girlfriend right there. And I was part of it because I had the audacity, but not only the audacity, but I had the method to go about this, to tackle something like this. And so these experiences that I had were just extraordinary. Who gets to do that? Well, you only get to do that if you go out there and go after your dreams, and you'll be surprised at the people you meet, the food you eat, just the incredible experiences you have, and that you turn up 2,301 miles later, safe and sound. And you did, and I did this really with twittery, excited energy. I was not terrified because I had thought through all of this stuff long before I went and did it. And I put in all the safety measures on the way, everything, so that I could actually accomplish it safely, effectively, efficiently, and with incredible memories. And I always look at this picture. It doesn't matter how many times I look at this picture. I look at the look on that girl's face. And that is just disbelief, but not disbelief. It's like, wow, I did that. And I encourage you to do the same thing. If there's any way I can be of help to you in doing that, it's my blessing to be able to help others go after the big, hairy, audacious goals and express the best in themselves. And so Facebook Messenger me at Renee Troutman Maxfield and put big, hairy, audacious goal in the message. And I'll send you the Itty Bitty Baby Step into Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals workbook so that you can work through this on your own. And if there's any way I can support you or help you on that, please also get in touch with me in the same place. I would love to be of help to you. And so I'm going to turn this over to Michael, and he's going to talk about purpose, so that you're
Yay.
doing something that you're doing that what matters to you, that speaks to you.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you so very much, Renee. That was just so cool to be able to walk us through those tiny steps that remove the fears, right? Remove the boogeyman from underneath the bed.
Yes. Under
Oh,
the
man.
radar of our own resistance.
Yes. So funny. So funny that we have to fight with ourselves like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
And then nobody teaches us
yeah.
how to work with our own psychology, right?
Mhm.
And it's something that you and I've talked about for 16 years now,
Absolutely.
how to get from where we are to where we want to go.
And that's really the evidence is that we're here in this platform,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because
This
we
is
have,
an itty bitty baby step.
yeah. This is making it so. This is the evidence here. We just figured out. We start off like this with nobody watching,
Yes, that's our itty bitty baby step. Nobody has to hear us.
and we are preparing, and we're starting to even gain some momentum as we go along here. But I'd like the audience to take a path and a journey with me. And I know that many who are in the corporate world have perhaps heard this, that people rise to their level of incompetence, the Peter principle, right?
Yes.
And looking deeply into what that really is and the dynamic around it, I asked this question: when is it that it doesn't work? When is it that the Peter principle does not work? And as I was doing my research in the Harvard Business Review, here's what I found. I found that people who manage themselves well, who have a clear purpose, even outside of their career, they break the Peter principle every single time. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
That purpose makes the difference. So I want to quote Mark Twain, all right, who says the two most important days of your life: the day you were born and the day you find out why. So I'm going to take you on a path that allows you to see exactly how it is that you can take even painful experiences and turn them into purpose. See, when I was growing up, 8 years old, my dad was a preacher, a pretty powerful preacher too. And he would pull crowds, people would walk miles in the little rural area of Port Antonio, Jamaica. And they would come to hear him speak, and they would gather around him at the end of the program, at the end of the service, and they would have conversations in anticipation of the next evening. And 8 years old, there was nothing in that mix for me. And I found, an angel found me, was a young man that taught me how to make that little origami butterfly, the one where you pull the little thing and the next thing you know is that the wings are moving. Well, I've got to tell you that one of the things that we've seen happen here is that I was so enthralled that finally I had found something that was good for me. And I took it to my dad. I said, Dad, look. And all the people standing around it. And I showed him how the little wings move up and down as I pulled the little lever. And he took a look at it. He took a look at me and looked at the people around as if kind of nervous about this. And he covered it up and he crushed it. And there my spirit was also crushed. Now I want you to think about, if you're a parent, I was in a great home, loving, caring parents, but this one incident caused me pain. Parents, do we sometimes make those kinds of mistakes? I also want you to think a little bit about the child in this case, innocently wanting to share something that they had discovered with a parent. Yes, I should have been in the service. I should have been there. And that was on me. But there was nothing there for me.
Mm.
I want to fast forward with you now 52 years. Are you following me? All right. All right. 52 years, fast forward. And I'm minding my own business in a church service, no less, in one of the wealthiest counties in the state of Illinois, in DuPage County. And I look over to my left and I see 5 kids walk in. And those 5 kids, as I watched them over the several minutes, that's when I remembered the event when I was 8 years old. I saw for those kids, there was nothing there for them. It was then that I made a determination in my mind, even as I was holding tears back for the pain that I felt. I said, I can't let these kids have the same kind of experience where there's nothing there for them. They get bored. So I created a youth church, albeit with 4 kids. I turned my pain into purpose. I looked at them and I saw that they needed something. And I said, look, I've had experience. So here's what we did. We talked about Teslas and Ferraris and Minecraft. And we talked about all kinds of video games. And we crafted the gospel into messages that included those items to heighten the interest. And it was just for them. And so I want you to know that finding your purpose, and here's the important thing about purpose. I want to quote Julia Cameron also here. And she says that what we really want to do are the things that we were meant to do. And then she continues, when we are doing the things that we are meant to do, she goes on to say that money comes to us, doors open for us, we feel useful. Oh my goodness. It's just amazing when you feel useful. You know you're addressing the needs of others. And then she continues to say that the work that we do feels like play to us. Wow. That's what the meaning of purposeful living is. So what the Smarter Vision course is designed to do is to help you uncover that purpose. And many people go through life years and years looking and seeking. And I remember in my own experience, wow, I was jumping from one big deal to the next deal. The next thing was good. And then 2 weeks later, the next big thing came and I forgot about the other one. And people were starting to wonder, is this guy really serious? Well, when I found my purpose, it made a huge difference because now every single day, I'm so focused. It's like a laser beam of focus that captures the energy every single day and keeps me moving and progressing and helping people in ways that I never believed I could before. So I'm a life optimization coach. I'm a mentor. I help people in many different areas of life to find their purpose. And so what I'd like for you to do is to understand this, that when you are defining your purpose, please don't start with things. You know, Renee just helped us identify a particular thing. We'll get there. But before you do that, please start with values. Start with things that are really, in fact, start with things that are like this. I want to be a caring person. I want to be a loving person. I want to be an honest person. And then frame it in the context of the end. Frame it in the context of what your friends will be likely to say about you at your celebration when you pass on. Frame it in the context of where you want to impact the world with the values and the legacy that you leave behind in terms of principles that you offer to others. What value are you bringing to the people that you are interacting with? If you start there and you have a nice list of those items, then the big, hairy, audacious goals have meaning because now they have a framework to operate in. All right. Now you've put them with a values-based foundation, and those big, hairy, audacious goals come in. And I like to think of them as big, hairy, audacious contributions. Because now it takes it away from just the things that you have on your bucket list to expand it and go beyond that to actually show what kind of value are you bringing. Once you have built that up and you have those clearly in mind, then what we want you to be able to do from there is to then identify your identity. Who does those wonderful things with those values that you've identified? Who is that person? Who is that person? And so we craft an identity. We take that big, hairy, audacious contribution and goal, and we ask the question, so who does that? And then you say, I am an honest, caring engineer that loves my customers. Woohoo! Now you're crafting an identity, right? And that identity wear on you. You keep saying that to yourself, you become it. So rather than focusing on doing, you're focusing on becoming. And then in that very next step, go back to those values and justify that becoming so that you're not doing something that is not intimately connected to your values. And if you do that, that's a powerhouse that drives you every single day. You wake up with purpose. You wake up with a mission that no one else can distract you from. It minimizes the stress and you feel harmony in your life. All the dissonances disappear. So now you are crafted an identity. And one of the things that we found very helpful in many of these situations is to now go back from that I am, and you paint that picture. Yes, I'm there. And you work backwards. You build your life from the future in high definition. What does high definition mean? It means that you are clearly visualizing every milestone from that point way out there all the way back to where you are now. And every one of those milestones you celebrate, you plan the celebration way ahead of time. Why is that so important? Oh, because it releases the dopamine spigot. Because Dr. Rishanel Alicum, clinical psychologist, evaluated the Smarter Vision program, and he said, one of the reasons your program works so well is because you have people celebrating in anticipation of the event. And he says that releases dopamine in the same way as the real event does. So isn't that powerful that you can plan your celebrations and plan the outcome? And it's so beautiful that we now take you into module 5 in the Smarter Vision course, where we teach you how to put this thing on autopilot. So you bring automaticity into the process. So now you have a clear vision, you turn down the dopamine spigot, you feel the celebrations, you feel the energy, you're starting to live the experiences mentally, and they start now to actually function, and very quickly, I might add. And what you want to be able to do is to create a drawing, create an illustration. And there's a wonderful principle that we use with these drawings. It's got to be an original. Could be pencil, stick, doesn't matter. Could be a video, but you took the video, not something that you found on YouTube. All right. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to write a paragraph that explains all the values, the vision, the purpose, the identity. And when you do that, what you're going to find is that you're going to write that paragraph out and then you're going to reduce it to 5 words. That whole vision, mission, purpose, identity thing, you're going to reduce it to 5 words. But that's the expansion contraction method that we use. And here's what the purpose is for that. You want to develop a laser-like focus on all of that as one aggregate. Because if you can reduce it to just 5 words, and you've done that in school where you had to summarize. I mean, when I was in high school, we had to do the Pressy. We would get a 700-page book. We had to reduce it down to just 5 to 10 words and capture the essence and meaning of the whole thing. And that means you have to understand, you have to feel the content of that book. So you have to feel your vision, experience it ahead of time, and then be able to reduce that down into language that has true, deep meaning to your soul. And here's what I want you to understand, that brings, you've heard of the Pareto principle too, I'm sure, where we have the 80-20 rule, where 20% of the work yields 80% of the results. Let's see if we can beat that. We want to do the 20% of the 20%. So by reducing it down into that laser focus, it gives you the 4% that will give you the 80% of the results. And so it's almost effortless. That's why it's autopilot. And the last step is that you build your accountability grid. You take your accountability grid. What does that mean? It means you have a personal board of directors that are invested in who you are becoming. They are part of your support system. They allow you to report to them on an ongoing basis. They give you the space and the time periodically to discuss where you are and how it relates to where you're going. Perhaps you need some help. Perhaps you need a little accountability built in. All right. Sometimes you might even need a little kick in the pants. And yet you want to be able to be sure to have a team of people that are vested in who you want to become. And I got to tell you, the next piece to that is that you start engaging with people who've gone through this very same process of analyzing themselves, who've clearly identified their purpose for being, clearly identified how they can transform any skill, any experience, any desire into a framework of purpose-driven living, where it is no questions asked. And please know that the Smarter Vision course is a course that's available to you. You can reach out to me should you wish to do that on Facebook Messenger. Just go to People Living by Purpose instead and send me a message there, and I'll be happy to connect with you, give you more details about it. But above all, please forget traditional goal setting. Forget about it. Build your life from the future instead. And live your life of purpose. Never stop doing it. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michael. Join us next Wednesday.